Well, hi folks, sorry for the noise. Garage door is open, and on the channel today I'm going to be hopefully installing Oxford hot grips, heated grips onto my 2018 Kawasaki Z900RS. There's the bike, and yeah, I took a ride to work the other day and froze my fingers right off. So I'm going to get these grips off and install the heated grips. I've had a look through the instructions. You can see that if you look at the box, you can see it's already been opened. And getting a look at the instructions, they do give a certain sequence whereby things should be done. Let's get them out here. Sorry, I'm just recovering from COVID. So I'm still a bit croaky. This particular set is the retro heated grip, so they have this diamond pattern on there, which I really like for the 900RS. And yeah, I think this is going to look good. Let me just get some tools out of the way here, and then I'll set you up so you can see what I'm going to be doing. Alright, let's get a look at the instructions. Tools needed: coarse and fine file for smoothing the throttle slider tube, glass paper for cleaning the handlebars, cable snippers or pliers, standard motorcycle tools. Fitting and wiring instructions. It looks like it's going to go onto the directly to the battery, and there might need to be some trimming. The fitting procedure: remove the existing handlebar grips, clean the left handlebar, ensuring that the bars are smooth and free of all glue and residue. The bar should measure a consistent 22mm diameter. When the right grip is removed, there is a nylon throttle slider underneath. This may need to be removed and any raised areas smoothed off to ensure the diameter is a constant 25.6mm. This often involves filing the raised ridges that were formed on the throttle slider. Trim lengths shown below. So it looks like you might need to trim off the end of it to get it off. So that's the trial fitting process. Then you position it on the handlebars with the wires going backward. And there's that. Then final fitting of the grips. I'll have another look through that. I won't bore you with the details. I'll give you the synopsis when I know what's going on. Wiring harness installation. Find a suitable location for it. It normally mounts on the plate for the left-hand rear view mirror. So I'll have a look at that as well. And then there's the schematic. The two bars. They have these plugs that connect the connectors that connect it up to the controller, and the controller runs back to the battery. Now, I know on the Kawasaki, on this bike, there is actually already fittings for the Kawasaki brand heated grips, which I don't have, so I might try to use those. So I'm going to pause you now, and once I'm set up there, we'll have a look at the first order of progress. Alright, let's get you familiarized with the contents of the package. The top part comes off and we have the controller. Now, I've had these out before, so this is not how it would come from the factory, but anyway. Controller with a wire and the three connectors, one for the two grips and one going to the battery. Here is the connector wire that runs from the battery to the controller. And we have our pair of grips. They have a different inside diameter. The smaller diameter is for the left-hand side, and the larger diameter is for the throttle, the right-hand side. So there's those. Here we have some cable ties and super glue for the fixing of the controller to the mounting plate. And then we also have double-sided tape here for the fixing of the mounting plate as well. And in this bag we actually have the mounting plate for the controller, which would be normally installed on the left side. Once again, apologies for the noise in the background, but my garage door's open and I'm on quite a busy road. Normally not as busy as this, but because of road works, a lot of traffic's been diverted past my door, which is not fun. So there it is. Next step, I think I'm going to try and mount this plate and see what the optimum position is for the controller. So here's the story so far. For test purposes, I have installed the heated grip on the throttle side, on the right hand side, because of course this is the most critical part, owing to the diameter of the throttle, the plastic throttle slider, which is this inner handle over here, which can rotate as you operate the throttle. In order to do that, I've had to remove these bar ends, the bar end weights, which is just uses I think it's a 6 millimeter Allen. You look down there. So that's a hex drive, 6 millimeter. Get that off. It was held in place with Loctite, so it was a bit of effort to get the thing off, but it came off. And then just getting the old grip off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and set up so that you can see how it was done when I do it on the left side. So hold on for that. Now I'm hoping that my phone and camera don't fall off while I do this job, because it's precariously balanced on the tank. So I don't know. There we go, loosening the bar end. I have to start again because I'm not getting past the mirror and I don't feel like bending it out the way, so I just skip it over and then move on. So the initial loosening of the bar weight it's a little bit tight, but it comes loose, and then it still feels a little bit firm as you release it, because of course there's a lot of Loctite on there. And now it should be good enough, yep, to be able to do this. So that's the first part. Next part is to get the grip free. Now on the other side I managed to get a grab on the inside of the grip here and then pull it back, and I see there is a little bit of glue in place there, contact adhesive it looks like. But what helped me tremendously was to get my air pistol, my compressed air, and lift up the end over here. I don't know if you can see that, I hope you can. Get it in. I actually saw this trick on YouTube, and then blast some air down there. It takes a few pumps before it releases, and I found that by kind of choking off the end ensures that more air blasts all the way forward. And away it comes. And of course now the rest is a bit easier. Takes a little bit of coaxing. And you saw the compressed air probably was, well, definitely is a huge help. Let me come back with it and just start this side. She's gone. Sorry about the noise of the compressor. It's a very small compressor, so it charges up almost. Alright, so now the grip is in place, and I'm going to just gently smack it on with the palm of my hand. And I'm going to be doing that while I steady the selfie stick with the camera on to get this into position. I really need to get myself a rubber mallet so that I can do this. You know what, I think I might actually have one. Oops, see how unstable this arrangement is. So just hang on while I go and get my rubber mallet. Don't seem to find a rubber mallet. I know I've been in the hardware store a number of times meaning to buy one and probably just never took one. So wooden block. Oh dear. Wooden block's having a harder time of it than the grip. Anyway, I'm going to persevere with that and get it on there. Doesn't even look like I'll need to glue this one into place, which is great. What I'm going to have to be careful of, just looking at the ergonomics, is this wire. I'm going to have to let it hang a little further down. I'm going to have to turn this back a little so that I don't have problems with the electrical wiring interfering with the horn. Now on the left side this is less critical, so I can get away with it. I'm going to find the best spot and then I'll show you. Okay, the next part of the process is going to be a bit nerve-wracking for me, because now you've got to use this super glue they've provided to secure your grip. I'm really scared of this. I hope it's a slower setting super glue so that I can put a few drops, and I'm really only going to put a few drops in position on the bar, and then work the grip into position and then let it set. So here we go. You're not going to see how I'm doing it. I'm just laying a very few drops on the top, let it run down, and I'll quickly close off over here so that my neck of the glue bottle doesn't go dry on me. And then I'm going to run it up and let it take position as I've selected. That seems to be okay, and I'm pretty sure that that will be enough to hold the grip without making it impossible to remove at a later date. Now the next problem that I discovered is that this grip is actually physically a little shorter than the original. So I'll get the old one to compare it, and you can see this extends by another, I'd say a good 5 millimeters or so. And when I put the bar weight on, I did a test fit of the bar weight, which I can demonstrate to you. I had the problem that when the bar weight is fully tightened up, I have too much gap here. I'm hoping you can see that. But I end up with a decent amount of gap over there, which is not really nice. It's not attractive. But I am going to make a solution for that, because what I have is an O-ring kit, and I'm just going to get 2 or 3 O-rings that will fit around there and let them take up that space. So this has got to come off again, and then I'll add the O-rings and we'll see how that goes. Okay, I think I've come up with at least an aesthetically pleasing solution. I actually have, if you look closely, you'll see there are 3 O-rings. There's 2 underneath that grip firmly onto the bar of the handlebar, and then a third one just to make up a bit of space. And I think that looks pretty nice. I was contemplating cutting the ends off of the original bars by the correct distance and then just adding them over there. But I didn't want to destroy the originals just in case I want to put them back. So I'm going to see how I go with this. And so far I think I'm quite happy to live with it. I think it's a very attractive grip. Looks really good on the bike. So far I'm pleased. I'm also going to have to now come back to the throttle grip and take care of this gap over here. The original grip would actually pass over this plastic flange, but this one doesn't do it. Now the book says to actually grind away that plastic flange and bring it up there. I don't know if I like that or not. I may actually come in here with an O-ring, build up that area over there and leave the grip, because it sits in the correct position at the end anyway, and maybe another O-ring on the end here to sweeten the deal. So that's what I'm going to work on next, and we'll get a look at the result. Alright, as a beginning part of my problem solving, I've installed another O-ring there. I believe it was a 20 millimeter O-ring just behind this flange. I'm going to leave it on because I discovered that there is in fact a recess on the grip. So that's great news. I'm just going to have to push it a little harder, and then it actually does go over the recess and work very, very nicely. And I think it's going to look fine. So the next part, I've cleaned this with acetone and a shop towel, and now I'm just going to do the rest of the install. So let me set my camera for you over here. And I'm going to run a little bit more super glue on this side, because of course this is the side where the handle grip needs to hold on. So I'm going to run it up along the length. Also not much at all. Really, hopefully just enough to do its job correctly. And the next thing I'm going to have to pay special attention to is of course the orientation of the wire. So here we go. And I really do need to be quick about this. And then let the So now, as I see here, the cable is not going to bind up anywhere. I might want to bring it back a little bit further this way. I really want to minimize the cable's possibility to bind up in operation. But anyway, that seems to be symmetrical with the left side grip and in a good position. So now I can do another test fit of the bar weight and see what I need to do with respect. And you can see I'm gonna need 1 or 2 O-rings on this side. I've already just pushed it all the way forward and I can see that it's not nicely closed up. So let's get a look at that. See if I can film this live for you, and then we'll see how that goes. See, those are actually loose. They're larger than the size of the grip. And on this side, of course, I've got to be really careful because this has to rotate and be free while the for the throttle to go function, right? So yeah, let's come in maybe with just 1. I certainly do not want my throttle binding up on there. Now that is already binding up the throttle. So I may have to go with a larger size and maybe a thinner O-ring. Let's see how that handles it. Not happy. You would know this is a risky thing. You don't really want to jeopardize anything at this point, right? It seems to me that this super glue might, excuse my cold, might not be as super as its name suggests. We'll see. It could be a long curing time. I've not looked in the instructions, which could, of course, give me the information that I need. So, yeah, let's get a look at that. I'm going to go back to this 20mm, and let's just see how that goes. That's a loose O-ring, and really, I'm only trying to do this for aesthetic purposes. There's no other real reason. So, if the O-ring is loose enough, when the bar end is fully pulled up, then I shouldn't have any binding. No, I don't like it. No. So, no O-ring for you on this side. Definitely no O-ring on this side. Really, as I say, this is purely aesthetic consideration, and I might just get away with the way it looks anyhow. The gap is not as bad as on the left side, because the grip hasn't passed further down onto over this flange over here, and that inner O-ring it's sitting on the plastic, the nylon inner throttle rider. So I'm not going to have any problems there either, and it seems to be okay. I'm still definitely capable of turning this throttle grip, so I'm hoping that that's just a slow curing glue. Otherwise I wouldn't have to go back in there and do it again. That's, well, it's better that it can be moved. Yeah, when I compare to the left side, this left side's not turning at all anymore. So that's glued up. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So now, excuse me, I really do have a bad bout. I caught such a bad case of COVID. I was at home for 10 days off work. And for 4 of those 10 days was, wow, it was a nightmare. I've got to say, that was really, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That was really some bad stuff, and both my wife and I got hit hard with it. Okay, so I'm now, and you can't see what I'm doing. Let me turn this camera. What I'm now having a look at is the routing of this cable. So I've got a wire loom running here that I want to secure this cable to, then it will be quite tidy. And that looks okay, so I'm pleased with that. I'm going to put a cable tie probably around there. So let's grab one of these tie wraps. And if there's one thing I have to say, a negative thing that I have to say about this Oxford setup, is that the amount of cable ties they supply would not be, well, yeah, I would certainly pack a few more in than what they did. Got some pretty long ones here. Actually, I'm going to just grab some of my shorter ones for this job, just to make it neater. So hang on. Right, these are the ones I grabbed from the budget shop. You know, every country's got their, what do they call them in America? The dollar store. In Germany, you've got Teddy and a couple of other places like that. And I always just grab a bag of cable ties when I'm in one of these stores where cable ties are, yeah, pretty much of a muchness. You do, of course, get really lousy ones, but these I found to be pretty good. And they're small enough to keep things looking pretty. So, I'm not over tightening it, just stabilizing that wire. Let's get a look. I think that looks acceptable. Your eye doesn't immediately go to it, which is great. So that's the left side. Right side is still tied up. So let's get on with that. Yeah, let's see how that's gonna go. Now this one needs a bit of play. So that, to me, seems to be an acceptable amount of play. It's not gonna interfere with anything else. So let's tie you up around there. Okay, you're inside out, hang on. And of course, the throttle side is really the critical side, isn't it? So you really want this cable not to bind anywhere and to be very nicely stabilized. And so it is. I'll get my cutting pliers in a while and just trim those off a little bit. And I've got to run this wire a little bit judiciously as well, I reckon. They're going to come up and connect somehow to the controller. And I think that's really, on this particular bike, the installation of the controller and the neatening up of the cables is going to be the biggest challenge. The rest of the job seems to have gone fairly well. But running cables neatly so that, you know, your installation is as invisible as possible is always a challenge, and probably a matter of taste as well. You know, different people might want different things out of it. But for me, I reckon I'm doing all right now. I don't know how much of this you can see because I'm not really paying that much attention to my camera work at the moment. But you know, we're just stabilizing everything here. And then after that, we can concentrate on the controller. So I haven't pulled the cable ties too tight. Yeah, you can't see what I was doing there. My apologies. But anyway, let's have a look. There's a cable tie down here, and the wire's running a little underneath. So it's stabilized in two places. Throttle can move freely. So my O-ring is not causing a problem, and I opted for no O-rings on the outer side. Black nylon or Teflon washer there would probably be useful, but really not necessary. And that's the game so far. The next phase of the build is going to be installing the control plate, which hopefully is going to sit over here. And I'm going to have to modify that control plate to do its job correctly on this bike. So hold on. Okay, this is the mounting plate for the controller, which I've now had to modify. It was originally joined like that. I had to saw it off. And then I just ground it clean and hammered it flat, because this is now going to be mounted in position over there, like that. So it's only going to pass through the upper bolt to hold the controller, and then it's going to be in that position. Well, took a bit of a risk, but I think it's going to work out. It's going to rest on the lower one as well, so it's going to be well enough supported, I believe, for what I need done. Also, I had to just check that at full turn, there's no interference. So it's well clear of the tank, and it's not going to interfere with the controllability of the bike. So, let's get the Allen keys out and do this. Excuse me, voila. So, after some miscalculation on my part, I originally intended for this hole, to come out basically the side over here. But it wasn't going to do that. And actually, I meant up here. But I wasn't going to do that for the simple reason that this is not perfectly square. It's a rectangle and only installs in one orientation. I couldn't rotate it through 90 degrees. So I've had to come up with an alternate plan where it's going to bolt onto the bottom bolt of the mirror holder, and that should go on okay. The Oxford kit comes with a spacer so that you can pull out this bolt and then go in with it and then put the spacer in so that it pulls the plate back and it won't collide with the upper bolt. So they do seem to have put a bit of forethought into the installation, depending of course on your motorcycle. Now it remains to be seen if this bolt is going to be long enough to handle the spacer. So here we go. And it looks to me like the answer is a resounding no. See, that'll pass through, and I would be able to tighten it up again, I assume, or presume, whatever you want to call it. So the bolt's going in, and it's going to look ugly. You can see that it's now kind of wanting to angle forward. So I definitely do need to use the spacer. Now what they have also included in the kit is some more bolts, which hopefully are a bit longer than this one and will do the job with the spacer. Yes, they are. Let me see my spacer. Right, so there's that. And of course the bolt, I'll show it to you in a minute. I'm away from whatever it is, from bike, AFB, away from bike. I'm going to need a 10mm socket. Is it a 10 or is it an 8? There's my bolt. That's an 8. Alright, so there it is. Takes an 8. So the 8's got to pass through the plate. And then I'm going to put the spacer on, like that. And then pass the bolt through there. Let's see. How the result's going to look. That's quite acceptable. I would have preferred to have kept it a hex or an Allen, but that's not meant to be, so anyway, I'm tightening that up to a good tightness. That's not going anywhere. Whole bike's shaking, but not the bracket, and that seems to be fairly comfortable installation. The next step being again the routing of the cables, which is fine, and again ensuring that there's no collision between the controller and the tank, and we're good. So now I want to route that cable up underneath there and pull it up just like that. My cable ties are on hand, and I can get through there, hopefully. It's going to be easier from the outside. Hang on. There, I don't know if you can see how much of this you can see. Hard to tell because it's a bit further down, but there we go. And that is nicely pulled up and out of the way, and it can run along the rest of the harness underneath here and then be routed accordingly. Alright. Oh, already I see something ugly. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit of wire, colored wire, sticking out under there, so I'm going to have to pull back on this shrouding to push it in and cover that up. I don't like that. Don't like that one little bit. So it's going back on to be there. All right, that's fine. Let's get a general look at it. And there's the cockpit. Now, it looks like the phone's in the way, but actually from my riding position, my view is pretty much like this, which is really great. Everything looks fine. It's a shame that this wire sticks out. I don't enjoy that, but it's got to be. It is what it is. And yeah, so that's the story this far, and I'll be back for the next phase. Right, so the seat is off, and I'm going to have to remove off this side panel here and hopefully find a way to route the wiring. And here you can see the wiring intended for the Kawasaki OEM grip heating system. But the thing is, I don't know where that goes to and what it's for and how it goes. The dealer told me that was. But I'm just going to go directly to the battery with this lot and run the wiring down on the inside. So it's going to necessitate removing that little bolt there. And also this little fairing over here, removal of these two bolts, and getting that out there. And then we can see how we're going to run this wiring. Righty-ho, lads. Cover is off. Just one bolt, the top over there, came off, and then a couple of press nipple fits that go into these rubber grommets here. And now I'm pretty sure there's enough space and yeah, access for me to run a wire through underneath there. I've loosened just the bolt at the top of this cover, pulled it back because it's got a funny little push pin that holds it in position down there. You can see it, and it's a bit of a pain. So this is enough access for me to get the wiring up through here. So that's going to be the next phase. Let's get on with it. Alright, so the wiring is run. I did a quick test run of it and I'll catch you up. Wires connected to the terminals of the battery, and I have to say I already don't like this. I'll explain why in a minute, but anyway, here goes the wiring. I've secured it to a harness which runs down underneath this bridge over here, underneath in here, and then up under the tank And then under this cladding over here, here you can see where the wire is running. And I still haven't worked out what I want to do with this mess here. But the running of the harness went fine. It's just exactly the right length. Didn't have any issues there. Not too long, not too short, just fine. So happy with that. And now I'm going to do the close-up of the cladding over here. Put the side panel back on. And then proceed with the tidy up of this. But while I was installing, and I've done the test ride, so I'll give it I'll start it up for you now and show you exactly what's going on. The problem is, let me just turn the bike off. Because it's directly wired to the battery, I can switch it on, and there we go, all 5 levels, 20, 50, 70, 80 and 100%. I ran it at 70% for a while. The grips are heating up. But of course the problem is that if you forget to switch this off, you're going to deplete your battery, because it's not dependent on the position of the ignition key. You wire directly to the battery. So I don't like this, which is why I believe these connections here are going to be a better bet. So I am going to get my multimeter, and I'm going to have a look, test these connections, see if they activate and deactivate with the ignition switch, and then I'm going to try and find a way to wire the positive terminal to this, because I don't like the fact that I can leave it on. That is just not good. Not good at all. Ooh, it's not focusing. Come on, focus you. Yeah, don't like that one bit. So off with that. Grips are hot. I can feel them. They're getting hot. Yep. So the system works. So first thing, I'll close up my wiring loom. And second thing, going to solve this problem here. Alright, I'm back. What I finally managed to do is run as I showed you before, the power cable all the way along the side and underneath the tank. And then the connectors, you can actually see one of them right under there. I've managed to bury all of the connectors under this little shroud over here. This little fairing here covers all the connectors, which is great. If I need to do electrical work, I don't need to try and get in underneath the headlamp or in some strange, far away place. So I just routed all of these wires, the 2 coming from the left side, the 1 coming from the right side, and I routed them down underneath the back there, completely inconspicuously, and they come in here. And that's actually doubled back. This is the power wire coming from the battery, but that's doubled back. I could actually just hide it in underneath there, but everything is now concealed underneath here, and I still have easy access if I need to do maintenance. So my next step is now going to be investigating how I can connect up to here and hopefully have the grip heating system switch off when I turn off the ignition. So let's have a look at that. Alright folks, I'm going to end the video here. The system is working. I have successfully tested this connection over here by pressing my probe right through the plastic and then confirming that I'm getting a positive DC voltage at that point when the ignition is switched on. Now of course I don't know how much current is going to supply through that. I was told by the dealer that this is for the grip heating, so it probably is, but I'm going to do a lot more homework before I go and rip this up. For now, I'm going to have to be very careful, be judicious about the application and the use of the grip heat, remembering to switch it off. And as soon as I can, I'll be back with another video showing you how I've wired the grip heating system in over here, if it is at all possible. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. System works. I'm already happy. Bye for now. Welcome back. Today we're pushing on with the heated grip installation in the Kawasaki Z900RS. And today I'm getting a look at the fuse box. Now, I've got to turn this a little so you can see what's going on. But you can see at the bottom here, well, the top actually, 15 amp grip heater, and there is already a fuse installed in that position. I pulled it out, but it's in that position over there. You can see the little teeth, little contacts for the fuse. But when you look underneath, only one wire, that blue and red wire, is installed, and then on the other side there should be another wire coming out, and there's not. So that's where the fuse box system would be added. Now I don't know what kind of contact, what kind of plug goes in there. I've been trying to get this one out, but I started to wear a little bit thin and look a bit ratty. So it's really hard for me to see what's going on down and in there at the moment. It looks to me like there is some kind of a flat spade kind of a connection, which would also grab in the bottom there. So I'm going to experiment. I have a box of connectors, so I'm going to experiment. I'm going to grab one and push it down there and see if it wants to click into position, and if so, then I'll join it to my positive wire. That's the positive wire there for the Oxford system, and we'll see how that goes. So once again, hold on, let's see how we go. So I'm pleased to inform you that it's working. I've removed it from the positive terminal on the battery, so it's off now, and it runs down to the underside of the fuse box. And what I did is I took that connector and I bent it into a U shape, and then I just pushed it up in there as far as up as it's going to go. I've tested it with the pliers. It's in there quite firmly, and I'm going to ride it like that. The worst that can happen is it'll rattle loose and fall out, but then it won't short anything out anyway, because that's the positive side. So I am going to ride it like that, and I'll secure it to this loom over here. You can see how the wire kind of bends and comes close to the other loom, so I'll just secure it together with that loom to prevent any further rattling out. I'll just use a cable tie there. But I've tested it now, and I'll demonstrate it to you. So now, with the ignition in the off position, I cannot activate the heat. Now when it's on, there it is. And now it's doubly protected because the fuse, the inline fuse, is in place, as well as the 15 amp fuse of the Kawasaki, the grip heater fuse. So that was a great success in a very small amount of time, which I'm very thankful for. So thanks for watching. And just by the way, I did take a little ride with the system yesterday. It's not hot. I mean, it's not cold at all. It's pretty sunny and nice outside. It was about 20 degrees yesterday. And even running with it on the lowest heat setting of, what's that, 20%, I think, 25%. I felt the grip heat quite comfortably through the gloves, and it's working very well. I don't know if I would ever need it on full heat, but I'm confident that if I need it, it's going to deliver. So again, thanks for watching. It's been nice hanging out with you guys. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it's useful for you as well. And I'll see you in another video.